Hi, I'm Greg Rucka. You're watching PressPassTV.com.
Hey, welcome to Press Pass TV. I'm Morgan Page. Author Steve Hamilton has a new book that's sure to be a bestseller. We spent some time with Steve in Kingston, New York, the town the book is set in, to see what inspired him and see things through the author's eyes.
How you doing? My name is Steve Hamilton. I'm an author. The new book is called Night Work, and it's set here in Kingston, New York. And we're starting our day here at a really cool restaurant called Le Canard Enchaîné, which means the duck in chains. And we'll walk over this way. We just had a really nice lunch here. The owner, Jean-Jacques, was great enough to be our host. The reason that we picked this restaurant to start with is because the first scene of the book takes place here. The book is about a probation officer, Joe Trumbull, who is just sort of getting by in his life because 2 years in the past, his fiancée was killed. And as the book starts, he's just trying to get his life back together. He's still on the job. In fact, the job is really the only thing that he has that gets him up in the morning. As the book starts, he's really nervous about something. And you don't really find out what that is until you figure out that he's about to go on a blind date. And I figure that a blind date is about the most suspenseful thing that you can ever have in your life, because you don't know if it's going to be if it's going to work out great or if it's going to be terrible. And I figured he's got to go someplace special. This is a blind date, and so this is the restaurant that I just figured that he would go to. I sort of thought, in my mind, I'm thinking that this blind date in chapter 1 is like taking place over there. How you doing? And so he goes out on that blind date, and it seems to work out okay. But then after the date, the girl that he was with is killed, and so now he's got to figure out what happened. And of course, because he was the last person who saw her alive, I'm not going to tell them that one of them is going to be brutally murdered later. You know, we'll leave that part out. So not only does he have to figure out what's going on, he has to deal with the fact that the investigators are naturally looking at him and wondering how he's involved in it. I know some authors really sort of see the whole story as a whole, and then they just start filling in the blanks, and they have like a whole outline, you know, with the whole. This is what's going to happen at the beginning, in the middle, and this will be the end of Act 1 and Act 2. And they've got the whole thing laid out, but I can never do that. All I do is I sort of just get the idea for what would sound like a good beginning of a story. For this book, it's like all I had was this. Joe is this guy who's had this terrible past, and he's trying to start his life again. And it all starts with a blind date, and something really terrible happens afterwards, and he just gets swept up in it. And that's really all I had. It's like this is how a story should start. It should start with something that's kind of ordinary, just a blind date, and something goes terribly wrong, and then you just chase it. You know, you just see where it goes. This is the old Dutch church, and this figures in the first couple chapters of the book because they come walking by this. On the clock faces, on each side of the clock, except for this side. This side has a 13 on it. There was a 13 just on this side, but the local story is that this, you know, this tower is haunted and there's a ghost up there or something, and that's why there's a 13 on it. But I just thought it was a nice thing to have them walk by this after their date. Even as I'm writing it, I'm writing with the Kingston that's in my head. I'm not sitting here on the sidewalk writing it, looking, okay, looks like that. It's my memory of what it looks like. So when people start reading this who live in Kingston, they're going to find stuff that's not quite exactly right. You know, they're going to say, oh, that corner is not quite like that, or this place that you went to wasn't there at the same time that this other place was there. It's fine. I just had this real quick throwaway scene after, you know, looking back to the time when Joe was dealing with the death of his fiancée. He goes out walking in the middle of the night a lot. And he finds himself just coming up to this little scene because there's a little bench here where you can kneel. And there's just something about that, just the fact that there's this little place out in public where you can just stop, and they have this whole little scene here. We're headed down to the Rondout district that's on the Hudson River. This is where the police station is down there, where all the interrogation scenes happen in the book. And then also there's a key scene where after talking to the investigators, he goes out and sort of is just standing on the water thinking about what's happening to him, and he looks back onto the sidewalk and he sees a dark figure who's watching him. And that's the first time that he sees this man who is doing all these terrible things. He sees the dark figure, he chases him up the sidewalk here, and then he runs up that path through the weeds there and up to the street level, and then back up to Broadway, just a big long hill all the way back up to the center of town. And he chases him and you can't catch him. Joe is a probation officer. He works mostly with juveniles. So I got to spend a lot of time with real life probation officers and learn about the job and what they really do every day, because I really didn't know that much about it. Okay, this is Bob Sudlow. He is the head of the Ulster County Probation Department. Joe is just a product of my fevered imagination, really, but the first thing I had to do if I'm going to write about a probation officer is to come talk to the real thing and find out what they really do for a living, what they do every day on the job.
Oh, we spent a lot of time just trying to get the feel of things. You know, I think that's what Steve was more interested in, was to find what did it feel like, so that he could envision, as he put his story together, the feeling here and transforming it into a character in his book.
I don't have much free time because besides having a full-time career as an author, I also still work at IBM, and I have a family. I have 2 kids. Nick is 12 and Tony is 7. So that's most of my day right there. If you go back in a time capsule to when I was like 8 years old and you ask me what I want to be, I would say I'm gonna write books.
We hope you enjoyed that story. If you'd like to see more behind-the-scenes action, check out our website, PressPassTV.com, or our YouTube page at youtube.com/PressPass. We add new stories every day, so check back all the time. For everyone here at Press Pass TV, I'm Morgan Page. Bye.